Welcome back for another cam test. The old Statesman, and it's copping a flogging. It has absolutely been flogged from one end to the other now, so you can imagine how many cams we've been throwing at this thing. So, but we've jumped shipped for this episode, and we've gone across to the team at VCM Performance. And we've selected 3 camshafts from these guys that we want to test. And they've been on my radar for quite some time. I've been a bit slack. I probably should have tested them and used them, a lot earlier, but I haven't. But I figured now's a good time to do it. We've got the perfect test mule for testing it. And, when you've got something where you can do back-to-back testing, you just get the best data building platform to be able to do comparisons from camshaft to camshaft and so on. And we have learned a lot over this journey of doing all the cam testing. I've learned a lot more than I thought I was going to learn. And look, you're never too old to continue learning, even though an Alice one is as old as it can be. We've learned a lot, and I'm starting to see a bit of a trend here. But, thanks to the guys at VCM, Christian, Mario, the whole team, they've done a great job. They've hooked us up with 3 camshafts. So I reached out to them and said, guys, I want to try the VCM 11, the VCM 480, and the VCM 532. Now, those camshafts are at the bottom end of their size perspective on their camshaft. So I believe the 532 is probably their smallest camshaft they have on the market. Then there's the 480 above it, and then the VCM 11. They're pretty mild camshafts to say the least. They're nothing too crazy. The VCM 532, that's a baby. That's a 215, 223. It's got 583 lift, and it's on a 112 lobe separation. Where the VCM 480, that's a 224, 228, 580, 600 on the lift, then 110 on the lobe. Now that makes a big difference to how the camshaft reacts. So, then you go to the VCM 11. That's a 225, 232, 578 lift, 590 lift on a 112. Now, all of these cams are very similar in one way or another, but they all have different traits. Now, as you have learned, I talk about you, the customer, what's right for you. Now, the VCM 11, it's a very good, versatile camshaft. It's not what I would call an aggressive cam. It's quite mild in the sense of how it behaves. But then you get to the 480, even though it's got smaller numbers, I'll tell you now, that's an angry cam. That is super angry. But you get to the 532, it's a very sedate camshaft, but don't be fooled. It packs a punch. It's got a full fist in the face. It's a good cam. So, and you'll hear in the videos, the older, hopefully the quality, the sound comes out good, but the VCM 480, which is on the 110, that is super choppy at idle. It chops. And then, I've been keeping a database of what the engine vacuum does and all these camshafts, and the 480, it is using quite a fair bit. So I'm pretty sure at idle it was 60. I think it was 69 kPa at idle, where the 532, it was in the 52 or 53 kPa range. And the VCM 11, I think it was 59, 60. So when you start talking about standard stall converters, the 532 standard converter all day, every day, not a problem, wouldn't even hesitate to do it. The 480, look, you'll get it to idle, it pulls down hard. I think it goes to 73, 76 something kPa. So it really drops the bottom of the car on the ground. Where the 11, you might sneak it in, you might get away with it. You've got to have a really good tune up to get away with it. Good heavy car, heavy brakes and so on. But the 532, absolutely standard stall converter, you get away with it all day. So I guess, deciding factors between these 3 cams, if you were, have these on your radar, is, do you want to run a converter or do you not want to run a converter? Or do you want to put a converter in, not put a converter in now and do it later? When I say later, I mean 5-6 months later, if you can make a compromise. But definitely the 480, look, it really needs a converter. 2500 at an absolute minimum. 3K converter would absolutely be perfect for it. But, once again, that camshaft packs a massive punch. So let's have a look at the dyno sheets and we'll go from there. So these are all the final figures. So baseline, as it always has been, And then you've got the VCM 532. Max peak power is 285 kilowatts, 493 Newton meters of torque. Now that's pretty good. Then you move up to the VCM 480, which is 290 kilowatts, but that's 493 Newton meters. So, you know, it's making similar Newton meters to the smaller camshaft, yet it's making slightly more power than the smaller camshaft. But then you get to the 11, that's 291 kilowatts, 487 newtons. So you can see they're very similar. You know, you're sort of splitting hairs in the sense of, you know, how are they? But they have very, very different traits. So you can see up in the top end of the power range. So this is 5,800 revs. So I guess in the very top you can see the VCM 11 and the VCM 480. Well, you're splitting hairs in the sense of what's better. The 480 you can see hangs on in the top a little bit more. So now instead of cylinder heads and compression and so on, the cam's going to push along quite well. Where the VCM 11, it actually makes a smidgen more power in the top end, but once again, you're splitting hairs. But once you come back to the bottom end of the rev range, you can sort of see where the differences are between the camshafts. So the VCM 11 is probably got the least amount of bottom end in comparison to the other two cams, but as you'd expect, the smaller camshaft, the VCM 532, it does have more power in the bottom. It's not a lot, but it does have more, and it does have more Newton meters. Now, even though in this area here, it doesn't look like much, you will notice that out in the road. You will notice it quite, you know, it'd be a decent amount of pull when you hit the throttle and when you get going. So, you know, once again, you know, what sort of driver are you? What are you using in what application? You know, so if you're the sort of person who you want the performance, but you don't want the choppy as idle, and you know, and you're not really phased about sort of revving it higher in the rev range and making an extra sort of 10 or 15 kilowatts or whatever it is, then the VCM 532 is really good because you could stick that in any of the LS1s, and it would be super sedate and super nice. It's got a nice little grumpy little idle to it, so you know it's got a camshaft in it, but you know, it packs the punch of the bigger camshafts. But do you want to be seen? Do you want to be known? Then you go to the VCM 480. Man, that thing just chops. It is an absolute angry, choppy cam. However, it is smelly. You do smell it in the back. So your eyes start to feel it when you're at the back of the car and you'll be like, oh, you know, the car's a bit rich. Well, it's not. It's the way the camshaft is. It is just a smelly camshaft. But it packs a punch. So I'm going to call the VCM 480 more of a street and strip sort of Sunday, Saturday cruiser. You know, get it out on the weekends, have a bit of a thrash, you know, go for a cruise with the mates, pack it up and done with it. Where the VCM 532 is probably something that I'd use as a daily, you know, all day, every day. Let the missus drive it, let her learn to drive it, anyone can drive it. It's an easy camshaft. With the VCM 11, it's kind of like the 2-in-1. It's got the top end power that you want, but doesn't quite make as much in the bottom. But it's a bit more smoother and sedate in the bottom, so it makes it a bit more driver friendly without, you know, sacrificing too much drivability. Where the 480, you do lose a bit of that drivability because of the cam profile of the way it is. So, you know, even though on paper, when you look at the camshafts, they are very, very similar across the whole RPM range, they are very different. So, you know, like I say in all my videos, you've got to talk to your tuner or your engine builder and so on, and you want to make sure that they've done their own testing, their own back-to-back testing, because, you know, you can speculate what cam's better than the others, but unless you actually have the hard proof, you know, in front of you to make an educated, reliable decision, then I guess you're just guessing. So, yeah, it's very hard to make a decision here. Like, I can see people are going to watch this video and come away from it going, oh man, my head is just even more fried than it was before. I understand you, I feel you, because even now for me, when I look at these three camshafts, based on the differences between them, you know, it's going to take a lot of questions with the customer to determine which is right and which is better suited. But I'm probably going to say, for me as a workshop, I'm probably going to recommend the 532 to more customers than I ever would, only because it's a sedate, nice, grumpy, but not too grumpy, but not too fuely. It's just a nice all-round camshaft that really does tick all of the boxes as far as performance, drivability, fuel economy and all that sort of stuff. And I think if you look at VCM's ratings on their site, they actually put this right up there when it comes to economy, drivability and so on. So it does get a high rating in that sense. But if none of those things are of an issue for you and you really don't care and you've got a manual transmission or you're putting a converter in, well then the 480 absolutely gets the vote because it is a popper of a camshaft. You know, it really does sing out and say, look at me. So, but you know, if you don't want neither of those two and you want something that has got a, you know, a nice deep idle, makes the top end power, you've got no interest in putting cylinder heads on it, you don't want to put any compression in it, you just want a nice cruiser that you can jump in every day and drive, you know, the VCM 11, it's a sure winner. And like all of them, you know, you can see the red line here, that is the stock baseline, they are all above it. So once again, you know, there is no trade-off on all three of these camshafts as far as low down power and torque go. So all three camshafts, very good options, but those options, you know, making those decisions are based around your thoughts, what you want from your car, not what your mates want or the workshop is building the car. It's what you want from your car, and you've got to be very clear and think about the decision that you're making before you put the camshaft in, because one of these three cams will make you happy and one of these three cams will also make you disappointed at the same time. So be smart, think about it. Get the ideas, watch these videos because I'm doing the best I can to be as honest as I can with the videos to help you out making the decision. I hope you've enjoyed this video. We'll be back for more camshaft testing. I'm getting tired now because I've just been doing this flat out. It's all I've been doing. I need a break from it. But there'll be more coming. We'll keep them rolling. Thanks guys. See you next time. Bye.